It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Divas That Care. My name is Candace Gish. Well, like I've been mentioning for the last week here, we're doing some special episodes going on here, and we're talking with some amazing women that are part of an anthology that the Divas That Care is releasing in the next couple of weeks here called Animal Prints on My Soul. And I'm so beyond excited for today's guest because this is the very first time actually I've had the opportunity to interview her on my program, so I'm excited. If this is your very first time tuning into the Divas That Care, a huge welcome to each and every one of you. The Divas That Care is now in its 11th season. We are listened to in over 30 countries around the world, and it's because of all of our amazing listeners we were able to do this. So I'm really excited, and so I want to welcome each and every one of you. All right, as I said, let's get started. Today is a special program, and my guest today is Lorie Murphey. Welcome to the show, Lorie.
Thank you so much, Candace, for having me.
Oh, my goodness. I am beyond excited to have you, Lorie. Lorie, before we kind of dive into your story, would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am a simple country girl that has a crazy love for horses and kids, and I have one amazing daughter, and, I'm just trying to do my part to make the world a better place by spreading some kindness and doing so with the help of some horses.
And you've definitely been doing that. And for all of our amazing listeners that want to check that out, Lorie's got some really great monthly programs that she does with other hosts, so you'll want to check those shows out. All right, Lorie, so why did you decide to submit your story into this specific anthology?
I think that my story is kind of comical, but I think it's important to share with people that, the importance of what animals and pets can do for people's, well-being. And I just really think that sharing the love of animals and, maybe somebody that doesn't have a pet or a companionship, it's amazing on what can do for you.
Isn't that so true? I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for the animals that have been in my life. So tell me a little bit about your story.
Well, my story, I was introduced to horses at a really young age. We lived on a farm, and we had horses and cows and every kind of farm animal you can think of. But horses really were my heart. And we moved from Idaho to California and from a farm to a residential neighborhood. And we had to, we just didn't have any other than, your domestic dog So my parents got me another horse, and it built more character than anybody should probably have for me because, I had to get out. I'm one of 9, and my parents said, well, if we get you a horse, we can't, we have too many other responsibilities, so you'll have to figure out a way to pay the board. And so I cleaned 32 stalls 6 days a week for $60 board to keep my horse. So I learned how to work very hard. Yeah, I learned how to wear it. And I think back at that and go, wow, $60, 32 stalls a day. Wow. But again, I learned so much. And every one of the stalls I cleaned had, another friend of mine in it, So being around the horses and the animals and just being, you just talk to them just like they're another friend, So that got me going and kept me going into horses until now. Of course, I did take a break there, and in my story you'll see that what happened. It kind of discouraged me a little bit, but then I had my daughter, and I said, I can get back into horses if I can get her addicted to horses. Well, my daughter's a cat girl, but I'm still back into horses. So, yeah, she's more of a cat kid. So, but I have, just a huge desire to help kids with horses, and horses bring great peace. And of course, they're not for everybody because sometimes you can be intimidated by such a large animal. But my, just my life is just, my goals now is just to help. And I call myself a helper. And I was, one day walking down the stables, and it just hit me all of a sudden that I'm here to help. I was trying to figure out, okay, what's my next path in life, and it just came over me. God said, "Yeah, you're supposed to be a helper." So you know what? My goal and just my biggest desire is to help mainly children, but everybody that needs it. It's easy to be kind. It's harder to be mean and cranky.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you just spread a little kindness, day goes good. You make people's days brighter, and so that's my story. Pretty much is linked to horses, and horses bring great peace to me, which then I can pass on to others, and just help with kindness.
Well, I love that, and it sounds like your story really taught you some important skills, and responsibility. Because I always said that my animals taught me responsibility. I was a city girl that ended up in the country, and was overwhelmed with so many animals, in my teenage years. And I said, that was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to me, with what I had learned from my animals to become the person I am today, with responsibility and caring and everything else. So I can definitely see that has probably done a lot for you also.
Oh, yeah. Without the responsibility growing up and having to come up with my own board each month and everything else that goes with owning a horse, there is no way I could run a ranch by myself without that experience.
Yes.
You learn some grit when you have to tend to them and just the responsibility. What was nice is the more you're around them, the more you learn about them. It wasn't just cleaning stalls. It was all of a sudden you're taking care of a cut, or you're taking care of, fences, and there's just so many things that horses get into that you have to help, correct. And the responsibilities have absolutely made me able to do what I do today, because you don't just walk into it, without some experience and succeed. You have to.
Exactly.
My life journey was meant for horses and helping kids. So I truly believe that at a very young age. I was 10. And to have that, I can't imagine a 10-year-old now coming over and cleaning 32 stalls 6 days a week. I don't do that now. I was determined, but it was so much fun because the love of horses were, I was around horses all day. What more can you ask for?
Exactly. And I see that's how it's impacted your life in such a positive way. I want to ask you too, so you have horses, but do you have any other animals that you want to share with us today?
Oh, I have the most amazing, ginormous yellow lab. He's 123 pounds, and he is the goofiest, silliest, the most amazing dog you ever seen. And he's the perfect watchdog, but he's also just absolutely happy all the time. Sometimes it's like annoying happy. It's like, okay, I'm cranky, leave me alone. But you just can't stay cranky. But so I have my yellow lab, Bo Duke, and we have a bunch of kitty cats outside just because we need them and love them. But mainly my dog and my horses are what we have, and of course my daughter's cats. But
exactly.
Yeah, you got to keep everybody happy.
You've done so many great things with your horses right now. Like our other programs that we've had you on, you've talked a lot about the things that you're doing with your horses and what you're using your farm for. And I'm really excited about that because it's really changing people's lives. It's such a big, impactful thing. Your journey has been extraordinary. And I'm so excited because our listeners are going to love checking out your story, and the fact that how did she start? And then to where you are today is, oh my goodness, Lorie, I don't even know, I can't even express the words that I'm so empowered by what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. It's definitely a blessing. There's times that you just kind of cry about life, but when things aren't going right, broken pipes or broken fences, but the joy that comes when the kids come out, that all week, that's all they want to do is come out and see some horses. It is absolutely so rewarding that, you can't find words for it. there's been a lot of struggle and a lot of things in my life that has kept leading me back to horses. And there's days, I'm telling you, that I will go down to the stables and stacking hay. Some days you just don't feel like doing it, but you just keep plugging forward. You just keep moving on, and and then of course you get I have a special student that her best friend just moved to Virginia, and her family, her parents were going through a divorce, and they said that her best friend and horses were the most important thing to keep her, happy in life. And her best friend just moved to Virginia, so I am on the search to find her very own horse. And she has no idea.
Aww.
Yeah, and I told her grandma and her mom, by the way, I'm getting Sophia a horse. So they just started crying. And, and it's not a matter of, I'm just going to do it because I can and I have arranged to keep the horse at. But, what that will do for her now that her friend had to move out of state it will change everything for her, and in a positive way. And so I'm super excited about that. And just I was that young girl at one point when I got my first horse when we moved. That was my very own horse. But growing up, we had multiple horses out there, but then I have multiple siblings, and none of the horses were really one individual's horse. So when we moved to California and my parents got me the horse for Christmas, that was my horse. That was my responsibility, and it makes a difference. It really does. I mean, you love them all, but when it's your own, it's so incredible, and I can hardly wait. I'm looking for the perfect horse, if there's such a thing, for her, and I'm super excited. And that's my goal now in life, is just bringing joy to kids with horses, and just kind of making
I love that.
a rough time in life a little better.
I think that's extraordinary, and animals do so many great things for children, and I think what you're doing is fantastic. So for any of our listeners that want to know a little bit about your farm and what you're doing, how can our listeners get a hold of you?
Well, they can go to sugarditchstables.com on my website. It pretty much tells the story and what we do. And I'm gearing more towards right now therapy for children with horses. It's a passion I've had put on my heart, and so that's what we're going to now. We have the summer camps and the private lessons and birthday parties and everything, but now it's time to really use the horses in another positive way where kids are struggling right now, and they need to be able to be kids and be outside and playing and learning. And when you do that with a horse, it's just an incredible excitement for them. And
yes.
Like I said, some horses or some kids aren't comfortable around horses because they're intimidated. But, we have other things at our ranch that we're putting in a big playground for kids, so that if the horses are not, necessarily for them, they have another place to hang out and play and be kids. And we've got a garden going. So we have a lot of different things at our ranch for kids that need to just be outside and feel safe and get to be kids. So we're very excited about what's coming up.
Well, I think you're doing amazing, and we're so excited for everything you're doing, and with the Divas That Care, we love supporting you and everything that you're doing. So I am very, very excited to always have you on as a monthly guest on the Divas That Care program so that we can share with all of our listeners what you're doing.
That would be great. I look forward to all the upcoming events and just everything that's going on.
Oh, well, Lorie, thank you so much for coming on to my program today and sharing about your story. For all of you that are checking us out today, Lorie's story is called For the Children, and it's going to be in our newest anthology, Animal Prints on My Soul. So make sure that you check that out. It's going to be available here in the next couple of weeks. So, Lorie, thank you so much for being on my program, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Candace, for having me, and you as well.
Thank you. And a huge shout out to all of our listeners. Make sure that you check out all the other special episodes on the Divas That Care. There's a variety of our hosts that are going to be interviewing the authors in this book and you don't want to miss those. Those stories are absolutely fantastic. We're so excited. Proceeds of these books will be going to different animal charities. Again, thank you to my amazing guest, Lorie. Thank you to all of our listeners, and please do something kind today. Until next time, everyone.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.